What's going on, guys? Hope you're all staying healthy and having a great day. So in this video, I am going to be ripping these 3 Sapphire Nitro 5700 XTs off of this RebTech motherboard. And my plan is to actually try to get 15 GPUs onto an AsRock H110 motherboard. Didn't work so great with the M.2 by PCIe adapter, but I have a flash drive now with the updated BIOS, so I'm going to try to go to the office, flash the BIOS onto the AsRock H110 board and see if it works. Man, this thing is so hot, it's unbelievable. I think it's the server PSU because the cards really aren't too hot. It's really just this thing pumping heat. But yeah, let me disconnect these and let's get over to the garage. So on the way over here, I had plans to try to get this motherboard to accept 14 GPUs once again, using this USB 3.0 PCIe 1X adapter that goes into the M.2 slot on the motherboard. I had full intentions on updating the BIOS to this motherboard to make it work, or to hopefully make it work. And then I actually watched a video as I was walking into this garage. Inside the BIOS, apparently there is something that you can change for your M.2 slot to change to a PCIe lane. So I'm gonna try to get into the BIOS right now, and I want to check that out. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna reboot this thing, and we're gonna see what we can see. All right, so real quick before I reboot it, I actually just reinstalled the M.2 by PCIe Express connection. All right, let's turn her back on, and we're gonna get into the BIOS. All right, so unfortunately, there's nothing inside the BIOS that shows the M.2 to be able to change that to a PCIe lane. I think I do have to do the upgrade on the BIOS. This has the newest H110 Pro BIOS on it. So now I'm gonna plug this into the motherboard here. I'm going to shut this off one more time. All right, so I just plugged in the updated BIOS. Let's turn this back on. This should just boot up and go directly into the BIOS because it doesn't have an OS system. So let's see. This is my first time ever updating a motherboard's BIOS, so hopefully I don't ruin anything. I guess I have to go into the BIOS manually. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so I think it's updated. Now I'm gonna take out the BIOS flash drive and put the HiveOS back in. I'm also going to hang this card back up on the wire rack here. The plain Jane, no back 1660 Ti. So let me get a hanger on this. I'm gonna hang this up, I'm gonna hook it up, and then we're gonna plug it into the M.2 and see if that made a difference. Hopefully it did. All right, she's hanging and she's plugged in. I don't think this is gonna make a damn difference, but I really hope it does, because I would love to get 14 GPUs on this one motherboard. There goes nothing. I'm just gonna let it start up as normal, and then if this doesn't work, I'll try to get into the BIOS again and see if now, because I actually connected a GPU, it might register inside the BIOS to be able to change it to a PCIe lane instead of the SATA. Still nothing. All right, let's restart this thing, get into the BIOS. I don't know if this is going to work. So she's clearly only registering 12. Unfortunately, I think the AsRock H110 motherboard just doesn't work with this M.2 PCIe slot. So what I'm gonna do right now is basically just disconnect it. I am going to grab this right here. This is a 4-port PCIe splitter. I wanna try this in the full-size 16 slot. I actually just did some research and nobody else has seemed to be able to get this to work either. So, I mean, just because I want to try it, I'm going to unplug this USB right here that's in the 16 slot, and I'm going to plug in this one and the one that's in the M.2 area into this and just see what happens. I mean, it's probably not going to register. I don't even know if one will register. It might only register 12 cards, but you know what, it's worth a shot. So I'm going to throw this in right now and we're going to see what happens. Worst case, this doesn't work. I put it back to normal. It still has 13 cards on the motherboard. Then I'm going to end up taking one of each of these, because my main goal was to take this and throw it on that bottom rig and add these 3 cards to it, but clearly I don't think it's gonna work because that's also an H110 motherboard. So yeah, I'm just gonna end up taking one of each of those and splitting them up between that rig, and then I am just gonna be stuck with one of these at home. I was trying to get rid of the AMD cards altogether in the studio, but clearly it's not gonna work. One of them's gonna have to come home with me, or I have to rebuild one of those, and I just don't feel like doing that. There's no point. I have a RebTech board at home that I can throw these on, no problem. So let's get to it. Let's rip this apart, shut this thing down, and get this situated. All right, there it is. So I got one plugged into the top. That's the one that was actually in the 16 slot to begin with, and then I have one in the back right here. So I guess we'll see what happens. I have pretty much zero confidence that this is gonna work, but anything's worth a try, right? Oh shoot, you know what that means too? I'm not gonna have any signal on the dang screen. So I'm gonna have to look at this inside HiveOS. Not surprising, it won't even boot up. All right, I'm gonna give this another minute, but yeah, this doesn't look like it's gonna boot up. All right, so she's back up and running as normal. None of that stuff worked on the H110, so that kind of sucks, but it's not really a bust. It is unfortunate that neither of these worked, but this will just come back home with me, no big deal, and one of these will have to come back home with me. So I guess throw one of each of these on the bottom 2 rigs like I said I was gonna do, and we'll make sure it's hashing, and then we'll call it a night. So it's perfect. I have a PCIe slot right there available and a PCIe slot right there available. So I will hang one here and one here. It's actually kind of nice having some color on the rig. Those cards are beautiful. I'm just happy to be able to fill both these rigs up with 13 GPUs. So literally every rig here has a full 13 GPUs. And then I will just have a, I'll just have a misfit rig at the studio. Kind of ironic. All right, let's make sure that these are up and registering. So we'll go to this one first. Just gonna double check and we will go from there. All right, so that one's up and hashing perfectly fine. Some reason this card won't register. It shows it's a 5700 Sapphire, but it shows a bunch of X's on the bottom. So I'm gonna change the riser and you know, the USB cable and the PCIe Express connection. So let me do that and we'll restart the rig. All right, that's all swapped. I'm gonna let that boot up. And while we're waiting for that to boot up, I received a package from my boy RONDY. So let's open this thing up and see what it is. Oh man, he knows I'm having he knows I'm having network issues, and he's like, I'm buying you a new 24 port switch. So looks like I have to swap this out right now out of respect to my boy. So let's rip this thing apart. RONDY, man, you are crazy. Dude, thank you so much. 24 port Pro Safe 10/100 switch. All right, out with the old, in with the new. Hopefully we stop having network issues. Man, this 5700 though is still giving me crap. All right guys, so we are all set. All of these cards are now up and hashing. We were having an issue with this one right here not registering, and that's because the AMD driver inside HiveOS was the older version, so we had to update it. But as always, guys, I appreciate you all for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.